अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवन् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं श्रीकृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदां सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कंचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। So welcome back. So we had completed chapter number 11 yesterday, the universal form of the Lord. And if somebody sums up quickly, we can move ahead with chapter 12. That is the end of Bhakti Yoga. Deepika Mataji.
Yes, Maataji. Chapter 11 talks about Arjuna that understood Lord. He accepted the Lord by hearing process. And he now in this chapter he is eager to see his Virat Roop. And after that he shows the Virat Roop, then everyone's scared of that roop. Then he started in Chaturbhuj Roop. Then we have talked about Sukruti, mercy of God, to Sukruti of this Bhogan and Gyan Sukruti, and Thil, and Bhoktan Mukhas as Sukruti. Then we have again repeated the four pillars of the Dharma, and the chapter this shows it's more about his God, Lord Shiva's Virat Roop, and now he understood the God, what is Lord, and everything is in it only. So he's talking in first chapter. He's talking about how I kill my all my family members. So now he understood that if you kill everybody, they all come to me. So that is the main thing I have understood from this. Mataji, unable to hear you. You are on.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so the universal form is basically shown to Arjuna to show him how big, how great God is. Because in the 10th chapter, Opulences of the Absolute, the Lord speaks about a few of his opulences. He says, I cannot tell you all, but I can tell you a few. But Arjuna has the desire to see everything. So the Lord reveals himself as per the devotee's desire, his surrender. And only because of the mercy of the Lord we can know about him. There is no other source. Based on our mental speculation, maybe our life, which is fraction of a second for the Lord, we cannot know Lord. And so the Lord exhibits his universal Virat form, which is also a material uh, form. Material in the sense, as per our scriptures, the transcendental form of Krishna in the spiritual world is either Chaturbhuj or it is two-armed Krishna. So you see, there are various spiritual planets, and the higher you go, the better is the relationship. As per the five rasas, that is Shantaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, Madhuryaras. So as you grow in your relationship, there are higher planets, and the highest planet is Golok Vrindavan, where you are engaged in the service of the Lord in a transcendental loving relationship, that is Madhurya Ras. So this Virat Swarup, there is no mention of Virat Swarup in the spiritual world. It is restricted only to the material world. Why? Because here uh, a person with material consciousness cannot accept, or he cannot anticipate God with so many powers, so many energies, just as two-armed Krishna. It is only after sufficiently purifying that you accept God as He is, as a person. So we continue with chapter 12. By observing what is stated at a long passage beginning and end, one is pointed towards understanding the passage theme. The Gita middle set of 6 chapters, the set emphasizing Bhakti Yoga, begin with Bhakti prefaced by the final verse of the chapter, the Yoginam Api Sarvesham. So the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, they tell you about the yogic process, the purpose of life, what is the actual purpose of life, and how we must, gradually come to the level of Bhakti Yoga. And chapter 6 to 12, Bhakti Yoga is discussed in detail. And the last 6 chapters, that is chapter number 13 to 18, one understand how to, come to the stage of Bhakti Yoga with the help of Gyan, with knowledge. Basically, it is practical application, how to do it. So first we know where we have to go. Then you come to know how you have to go with Bhakti Yoga. This is the method, this is the science. And the third part is how to enhance your Bhakti with the help of actual knowledge in practical life. So we will come to that part. So shloka number 1, I don't know, somehow my eyesight today, I'm not able to see clearly the book. Arjuna Vacha. Evam satata yukta ye bhakta tvam paryupsate ye chapi akaram avyaktam tesham ke yoga vitama. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Arjuna inquired, which are considered to be more perfect, those who are always properly engaged in your devotional service, or those who worship the impersonal Brahman, the unmanifested? So, based on our conception of God, our realization of God, God reveals himself to us. So they say that, uh, at the end of the Vedas, Srila Vyasadeva, he compiled the Vedanta Sutra. And in Vedanta Sutra, there are two types of transcendentalists: people who connect with God, people who accept that only God is the supreme. So one is impersonalist, or transcendentalist, who believe that the Lord has no form, and they put their whole effort into realizing God by emerging in the Brahman, or they think of the Lord as something unmanifest, just an energy, a light, that's all. They acknowledge him like that. And the second category is the personalist. Personalist means who are able to realize God in his Bhagavan feature with all the six opulences and a form, and are able to engage in a loving relationship with him. So here, since Lord has explained that so many varieties of people come to him in different ways, the final two is the transcendentalist. One is impersonal, second is personal. So he's asking which is better, which is the best. 2. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Avasesha Manohemat Nitya Yukta Upasate Shraddhaya Pariupetas Teme Yukta Manmata. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great transcendental faith are considered by me to be most perfect. So Lord is here explaining to Arjuna that those that me, nitya, always, yukta, engaged, upasate, worship, shraddhaya, with faith, paraya, transcendental, upeta, endowed, say, they, me, by me, yukta, sama, most perfect in yoga, mata, are considered. So the Lord very clearly says, those, now you look at all the, inhabitants of Braja or Vrindavan. In fact, Lord Brahma is bewildered when Lord Krishna, they say Lord he is everything. And he sees that this Lord is a small boy and he is enjoying and sharing food with his Bal Gopal friends. He is eating from their hands, he's giving them food, they are climbing on him, they are playing with him, he's sitting down on the ground and, sharing. So he sees and he's bewildered. He says, how come he's God? So even the most exalted, living beings cannot accept Krishna as it is. They cannot anticipate. It is beyond even Brahmaji. So what Brahmaji does, he says, let me check. With his power, he takes away, captures all the Bal Gopals, they are going to graze the cattle in the forest, and he takes them away with him to Brahmaloka. And since there is a relative difference of time between Brahmaloka and Earth, that 1 minute of Brahmaji is equal to 1 year here. So all the gopas, all the cattle, they disappear. Brahmaji takes them away. And Krishna is there, left alone. That particular day, they say Balramji doesn't come. It was his birthday or something. He doesn't come to graze the cattle. So Balaramji is there in his house. He is not taken away. Only the gopas and the cattle. This is known as Brahma Vimoha Leela. And immediately Krishna, he creates the same replica of all the gopas, all the cattle, and is back in Vrindavan. Because if the mothers, the cows don't see their calves, the mothers don't see their sons, gopas, they will get very unhappy. So Krishna creates replica of all the gopas, all the cattle, and he goes back to Vrindavan, to Raj. And after this Leela, Balaramji notices, that earlier the cows, they were not so fond of their calves. Now, like usually what happens, the mother, the cow, she's more fond of the youngest child. And here they saw that these gopas who returned from the forest that particular night, they became so attractive to everybody, including the gopas and even the cows and the calves. And the cows were loving their older calves more than the younger calves. The mothers were finding their older gopas more attractive than their baby gopas, their babies. Why? Because it was Krishna in them. They were all expansion of Krishna, and that same quality of Krishna of being all attractive was there in them. And 1 year passes by, and like on earth, and Brahmaji is wondering now. He's seeing all this. He's seeing that his powers is nothing. If he is going to take away cattle and gopas, Krishna can create millions of gopas, millions of cows. And then he realizes his factual position with this Leela. And he comes, he bows down and returns all the calves and gopas to Krishna. And he asks him forgiveness. Oh Lord, I'm sorry I doubted you. I doubted your personal form. So even the most exalted of living beings, they find it difficult to anticipate that Krishna, in his two-armed form, is the cause of all causes. So 3 and 4. But those who fully worship the unmanifested, that which lies beyond the perception of senses, the all-pervading, inconceivable, unchanging, fixed and immovable, the impersonal conception of the absolute truth, by controlling the various senses and being equally disposed to everyone, such persons engaged in the welfare of all at last achieve me. So people who know that Krishna is the cause of all causes, even the impersonalists, of course, of the impersonalists and personalists, it is Krishna's mata, that personalists are the best. But even those who are now, impersonalists, due to their gradual purification, they understand, just like Brahmaji, how he understood that this Almighty Lord, Master of all the universes, is Krishna. It takes time. Like that, we see many impersonalists, like Sukhdev Goswami Maharaj. He was an impersonalist. He did tapasya, he refused to come out. So usually these impersonalists, they have fear of the world. He didn't come out of his mother's womb for about 16 years because he self-realized by birth, and Vyasdev ji had to request him, ki, your mother is in great pain, please come out. And then as soon as he comes out, he starts going to the forest. I don't even want to look at this material world and get bewildered. So Vyasdev ji, he plans, he runs her in the forest and his father is shouting, Putra, come back, come back. And he's not at all interested. And then, Vyasdev, he has this idea, that these impersonalists know they're always running away from material activities. So that is not going to give him true pleasure. So he tells all his, disciples, they go to the forest, they live in Gurukula there with Vyasdev ji, and they go to the forest to collect wood, food, etc. And he just tells them that whenever you are going to the forest, you must sing Srimad Bhagavatam. You must sing the, uh, the shlokas and the mantras of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is compiled by Srila Vyasdev and which has all the leelas of Krishna. And one day when, there is a disciple, he's cutting wood in the forest and he's, narrating the Putana Leela, how Putana came, she smeared her breast with poison to feed the Lord, and how the Lord, and he's so attracted, Sukhdev Swami Maharaj, by hearing this narration, that when this person is going back, he wants to know who told him about God, Such a beautiful narration about the personal form of the Lord and how he sucked away the life air of Putana and granted even her mukti. He follows him, and then he asks him, who told you this story, this Leela? And then he said, Vyasdev. So then Sukhdev Swami Maharaj understands that my father, I mean, uh, he is a great devotee of the Lord, and then he hears the entire Srimad Bhagavatam from his father and understands the personal, form of Lord and develops love for him. So there are many impersonalists like that, who gradually come to the level of personal worship. Just like our realization is incomplete, like in Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwaniti Shabdate. Means your realization is first impersonal Brahman, then Paramatma in the heart, you realize, then you realize Krishna as the Supreme Lord. So here also we see that from the two-armed Krishna form emerged the Virat Swarup, emerged the Chaturbhuj form, and then again it went back into him. Nowhere it is written that in the Virat Swarup, Krishna form was seen. Have you read it anywhere in Bhagavad Gita? That Krishna's form was seen in the Virat Swarup? No. Because the actual form of Krishna is the two-armed Krishna with the flute in Golok Vrindavan. So that Virat Swarup was only for material understanding of Arjuna, which also he did not like. He was not attracted to. In fact, he tells the Lord, please now, I don't want to see this form. This is very fearful. Please come back to your Sham Sundar form. First your Chaturbhuj form and Sham. And you know why Arjuna said not that he was not convinced? Because he knew that people in future are going to question, is he really God? So the material mind is like that. So for their purification, he makes sure that the Lord exhibits his Chaturbhuj form and also his two-armed form. 5. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of the Supreme, advancement is very troublesome. To make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. So we are embodied beings, and this impersonal realization, first you do perform Ashtanga Yoga, forcibly separate your senses, stop all activity, go to a secluded place and try to concentrate. Actually, the Ashtanga Yoga also, the process is to focus on the Chaturbhuj form of the Lord as Paramatma in the heart. Even in the pictorial, representation in as per our Shastra is that in our heart, the Paramatma is seated with the Chaturbhuj form with the conch, club, lotus and conch in his hand. This is what is explained. So even the yogi has to actually concentrate on the personal form of the Lord. But some people, they just, concentrate on the Brahma Jyoti. It is very troublesome because we are embodied and we experience this world with our gross senses. That experience you are limiting actually. That Lord has no form. So here Srila Prabhupada gives a very, very nice example that the purpose of even the impersonalist is to attain the Supreme, but they are not doing it properly. So just like we may find some mailboxes on the street, and if we post our letters in those boxes, they will naturally go to their destination without difficulty. But any old box or an imitation which may find somewhere but which is not authorized by the post office will not do the work. Similarly, God has an authorized representation in the deity form that is called Archa Vigraha. The Archa Vigraha is an incarnation of the Supreme Lord God, will accept service through that form. So why this deity worship is prescribed? Because we cannot develop emotions, loving exchanges with nothing, with the light or Brahma Jyoti. There is no exchange. You will not develop any emotion. There are some devotees, I see in holy places, Vrindavan, in Tirupati, I saw. There's a lady, and as soon as she saw the deity, she started crying. At that point of time, I did not understand. But there are 8 types of ecstasies which develop in our body, especially when we purify and our relationship condenses with the God. So they see the deity, they just cry, just want to see the deity, they just don't want anything. So you come to that personal reciprocation. Is such a beautiful reciprocation possible by concentrating on the impersonal light or Brahma Jyoti? No, you cannot experience it. So there was a very beautiful example given by his praised Chaitanya Charandas Prabhuji in one of his classes. He said, uh, just like for example, you are, in one room and you hear sound, that something is cooking in the kitchen. There are utensils, the noise of utensils is there. And when there is so much commotion, you understand that something is cooking in the kitchen. You hear. And then you want to make sure what's happening there. You go there. You go till the door and you see that they are making gulab jamun there. You have seen, you have heard, and the gulab jamun you have come to know, realize, yes, this is being done. And when gulab jamun is being made, you see the form of gulab jamun. It is round, but still the realization is not complete. Then you go closer and you touch and you see it is very soft and succulent, very juicy. And when you get closer, you can smell the gulab jamun has a sweet aroma. But will you be able to relish the gulab jamun without putting it in your mouth? You will never know. So when you put the gulab jamun in your mouth, you have heard it, you have seen it, you have touched it, you have smelled it, you have tasted it. Your realization of gulab jamun is complete. And that is recorded in your consciousness, this experience. We cannot even carry a, speck of needle from here, but our consciousness carries all our experiences. At the end of our life, yes, all the senses are used. Here we perceive everything by our gross senses. So the Archa Vigraha of the Lord, it is for us to realize God completely like this. Because impartial or concentrating just on the impersonal feature of the Lord will not give you this kind of experience of happiness and completeness. So the complete, we are in Bhagavad Gita, our purpose is ultimate happiness, ultimate good, not relative goods. Yes, seeing the gulab jamun is good, smelling is good, but what is the best? We eat the gulab jamun. So like that, the Archa Vigraha of the Lord, it is actually the Lord himself, incarnation himself, to take services from us. We, bathe the deity, we decorate, we smell the flowers of the deity, we see the deity. So we can relate to Lord in that, in the form of Archa Vigraha, and he takes service. There have been so many Swayambhu deities we have around, and there are so many pastimes of the Lord, where he has reciprocated. We go to Pandharpur, Janabai was great devotee of the Lord, and she was working in the house of Namdev, again another devotee of the Lord. And they say, that Lord used to come. There is a chakki, in which they used to pound the atta, grind the atta. And they say that Pandarinath used to come and sit with her and hold her hand and help her in her household chores because she was poor. And that was the level of her bhakti. Many such pastimes are there. So for a devotee, there is no difficulty in approaching the Supreme immediately and directly. But for those who are following the impersonal way to spiritual realization, the path is difficult. So what will the impersonalist do? He will come to know that there's thing called Gulab Jamun. He'll just know. He will try to speculate. It's like this, it's like this, it's like that, it's like this, but he is not sure. Because without personal interaction, that realization will not come. 6, 7. But those who worship me, giving up all their activities unto me and being devoted to me without deviation, engaged in devotional service, and always meditating upon me, having fixed their minds upon me, O son of Prutha, for them I am the swift deliverer from the ocean of birth and death. On the other hand, the Lord is telling that people in devotional service, for them it is very easy because they are not tying down their senses forcibly. They are just engaging their senses and they are also meditating. Aren't they thinking about the Lord? Tomorrow you have to make a garland, put a garland on the Lord, Lord deity of the Lord. You start meditating one day in advance. Now I will get these type of flowers. I will get this many kilos or this many grams of flower, and then I will make a garland. And then tomorrow, when I get up in the morning, I will make prasad and I'll offer these to Lord. You are meditating all the time. So that is what the Lord is saying, that the other type, that they also come ultimately, even the impersonalists, they have to come to realize the personal form of Lord. But the path which they take is very troublesome and there is more chance that they fall down. So 8. Just fix your mind upon me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and engage all your intelligence in me. Thus you will live in me always without doubt. So here the Lord is saying, just fix your mind on it. So here, if we have an advisor, it should be the topmost source. And here the Lord himself is telling us. He's instructing us. Actually, at the end of Dwapar Yuga, everyone asks Lord Sri Krishna that when you depart from this material world, after this avatar, then whose shelter should we take? So the Lord himself declared and mentioned, that Srimad Bhagavatam is my Granth avatar. And my instructions are not different from me. So if you are going to uh, hear Srimad Bhagavatam, it is as good as associating with me. So my instructions are me, myself. So here also in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord's instructions are very clear. There is no doubt. He has asked the questions and he's answering them clearly. So here Srila Prabhupada explains, when he offers food, Krishna directly accepts these eatables and the devotee becomes Krishnaized by eating the remnants. One who does not engage in such service cannot understand how this is so, although this is a process recommended in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures. So the Lord has said, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhakta Prayachati. Offer me. Because the Lord is not feeding, he is the provider of all the foodstuffs, whether it is Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, water also. He is Bhavgrahi Janatana. He feeds on our bhav. Do we have the heart for him? Do we care? He is accepting that bhav. And it's not that you need lakhs and crores of rupees to offer this bhav to Krishna. Even the lowest, like some people have, like it's mentioned that even Chandalas, yesterday only our Guru, His Grace Mahashim Prabhuji was saying that, human beings are higher beings, less than that is animals, less than animals is birds. And even in the birds, the most lowest is the vulture. It feeds on dead flesh. But Lord Sri Ram, he delivered even Jatayu. How? Though he did not have the intellect to understand Shastra, he engaged in the service of Lord. He tried to protect Mata Sita and he gave up even his life for that purpose. And Lord Sri Ram, when Jatayu died, he took him in his lap, heard him. He told everything what had happened. And when he passed away, uh, Lakshmana, he arranged for the pyre. And Lord Ram personally did his last rites. Just imagine the power of bhakti, serving the Lord. Bhakti is not idle. You have to work for the Lord. So, no bars, nothing required, no qualification required, no good birth required, no money required. Jatayu didn't have any money. Jatayu was just a very low-born bird. He could also perfect not just human, even animals. We see, that when you chant, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going through the forest of Middle India, uh, the animals in the forest, they used to get so enchanted with the singing and kirtana. The lion, tiger, deers, elephants, they would all, hear. Hearing is such a powerful. Hearing is one sense which works even in our sleep. The first thing that awakens you is the alarm sound. That is the awakening by hearing. You are alert. This is one organ which is active. So 9. My dear Arjuna, O winner of wealth, if you cannot fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga. Now, the Lord is coming down in descending order. Okay, if you cannot, fix your mind upon me without deviation, then follow the regulative principle. So the best is the personal realization of the Lord. But if you cannot engage in, bhakti, then at least follow the principles of Bhakti Yoga. That is all the processes of bhakti. The principles and sadhana are there. Follow the 4 regulative principles. Do your chanting. And then the next is Krishna tells Arjuna, Dhananjaya, the winner of wealth, because Arjuna obtained riches by fighting. Krishna now requests Arjuna to fight his mind and obtain the wealth of meditation on him. Krishna has already discussed Abhyasa Yoga in 6.35. That you must, if you practice, everything is possible. Srila Prabhupada describes the practice of sadhana that elevates one to the stage of attachment to Krishna. To practice the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga, one should, under the guidance of an expert spiritual master, follow certain principles. One should rise early in the morning, take bath, enter the temple and offer prayers, and chant Hare Krishna. Then collect flowers to offer to the deity, cook foodstuffs to offer to the deity, take prasada, and so on. So these are why all these have been designed, so that gradually we come to the platform of fixing our mind on the Lord as the supreme goal of life. There are various rules and regulations which one should follow, and one should constantly hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam from pure devotees. This practice can help anyone to rise to the level of love of God. So if you can't, if you are not a great devotee yet, then you please engage in sadhana, the principles of devotional service. 10. If you cannot practice regulation of bhakti yoga, then just try to work for me. So less than that is karma yoga. Work for me, because by working for me, you will come to the perfect stage. Just like Jatayu, work for me. No knowledge, no sadhana, nothing. Work for purpose of Lord. So the previous two verses dealt primarily with engaging our mind and chief of the internal senses. This verse refers to engaging our external senses. Okay, what are the subtle senses? Mind, intelligence, and false ego. This is a higher stage, subtle stage. So first of all, try to engage your mind, intelligence, and false ego. But if you can't, then at least by discipline, try to engage your gross senses. So the whole process is so designed that, whether we have any attachment or not, make it a practice to see the Lord. When we go to the Lord, the devotee is admiring, physical, with his physical gross senses, the flowers, the colors of the flowers. That I used to do that. When I used to go initially to ISKCON, I would see, from head to toe, what anklet Lord is wearing, what bangles he's wearing, how are his earrings. Today he is wearing red color clothes, today he is wearing blue color clothes. Meditating on that with the physical senses. So engage in all these activities. So first we were talking about internal senses, and now, okay, you can't do that, come down a little. Try and engage your gross senses in Krishna's service as a means of further advancement. Even if we are unable to think of Krishna or remember Krishna, we can make progress by working for him. This platform is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. At least practice that. If you can't do this, at gross level, do something for me. You offer the fruits of your work to me, and you serve me like that. Again, Srila Prabhupada gives practical instructions for one at this stage of spiritual development. If one has sufficient money, he can help in building an office or temple for propagating Krishna consciousness, or he can help with publications. There are various fields of activity. One should be interested in such activities. One cannot sacrifice the results of his activities. The same person can still sacrifice some percentage to propagate Krishna consciousness. This voluntary service to the cause of Krishna consciousness will help one to rise to a higher state of love for God, whereupon one becomes perfect yogi. So here the purpose of all charity is also there. 11. If, however, you are unable to work in this consciousness of me, then try to act giving up all results of your work and try to be self-situated. So it may be that one is unable to even sympathize with the activities of Krishna consciousness because of social, familial, or religious considerations, or because of some other impediments. For one who has such a problem, it is advised that he sacrifice the accumulated result of his activities to some good cause. Such procedures are described in the Vedic rules. Thus, one may gradually become elevated to the state of knowledge. It is also found that when one who is not even interested in the activities of Krishna consciousness gives charity to some hospital or some other social institutions, He gives up the hard-earned results of his activities. So if you are not able to do charity for Krishna, at least do it for some good cause. At least engage in these activities. Gradually, you will come to the stage of giving your money for Krishna's cause, which many people don't understand. That our desire doesn't matter. It is ultimately samsiddhir haritoshanam. Perfection of human life is to please Lord Hari, not ourselves. So fruits of one is sure to purify his mind gradually. That is why when somebody has a problem in life and he goes to an astrologer, he says, Jao gai ko, feed the cow with palak, some green vegetable, give, dana to birds, etc. Because the transformation has to be internal. Your consciousness has to change. By charity, you become more selfless. Then you are able to understand the purpose of life. Selfish people are only self-centered and all their activities are revolving around their own personal selfish interests. In text 8 to 10, the spiritual result of each recommended practice have been described. By thinking of Krishna as described in text 8, we will always live with Krishna. By following the regulative principles of Bhakti as mentioned in text 9, we will develop our desire to attain Krishna. By working for Krishna as described in text 10, we will come to perfect stage. No result, however, has been mentioned for following the practice Krishna recommends in text 11. It is not even connected. You just become a little selfless. The practice of giving up the fruits of work, unless those fruits are offered to Krishna, is not in and of itself spiritual, and therefore it does not yield tangible fruit. So when somebody is performing charity without knowing the purpose of charity, that is giving up the fruits of our work, then his so-called charity also does not yield any spiritual result. Maybe it will read some material results like pious activities. When we perform charity and all, you will get a better standard of living, better maybe facilities to enjoy. But nowhere it is mentioned that this kind of charity is going to take us closer to realizing Krishna. So under this, all the activities which are performed are on the material plane. So the least one can do is we perform activities at the level of Nishkam Karma. 12. If you cannot take to this practice, then engage yourself in cultivation of knowledge. So why our activities are not dovetailed? Because of ignorance. So even if you cannot do this charity, then try to cultivate knowledge. By cultivation of knowledge, you will come to realize what is good and what is bad, and then your work will be perfected. Better than knowledge, however, is meditation, and better than meditation is renunciation of the fruits of action. By such renunciation, one can attain peace. So the Lord says, if you cannot take to this practice, refers to the practice of Nishkam Karma Yoga described in text 10. So not to the practice of giving up all result of one's work for good cause described in text 11. Knowledge here refers to Brahma Jnana, not that you acquire material knowledge of earning a living here. Knowledge in Bhagavad Gita is knowledge of the self, our constitutional position in relation to the Lord, as different from the body, and meditation suggests yogic meditation by which one will realize the super soul. This is the least The meditation here refers to the meditation when one concentrates on the Paramatma Chaturbhuj form. At least that kind of meditation should be performed. Thus, these verses describe a sequence. Text 8, perfected devotional service, which means always remembering Krishna. Text 9, devotional service in practice or performing sadhana bhakti and working for Krishna as Krishna desires, i.e., performing typical temple services. Text 10 and 12, the Nishkam Karma or working with detachment and offering the fruits of that work to Krishna. That is Nishkam Karma. Below that is charity for some other purposes. The two other stages which are lower than Nishkam Karma Yoga are also mentioned in text 12. Yoga and cultivation of knowledge. So cultivation of knowledge, that is Jigyasu. You are inquisitive, learn about Lord, about the science of Lord, or Brahma Jnana. Still lower than Brahma Jnana and without a direct transcendental result is the method mentioned in text 11, detached work without offering the fruits to Krishna. It is the normal philanthropy of the world. Krishna has already explained in the chapter 5 that by working in detached fashion one attains Brahma Jnana. So when we do our prescribed duties or Nishkama Karma Yoga and offer the results to Krishna, that helps you get Brahma Jnana, the actual knowledge about the Supreme. In the summary, to reach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the highest goal, there are two processes. One is by gradual development and the other process is direct devotional service to Krishna. In the direct method and other method involve renouncing the fruits of one activities. Then one can come to the stage of knowledge, then to the state of meditation, then to the state of understanding the super soul, and then to the stage of Supreme Personality of Godhead. One may take either the step-by-step process or the direct process. That is our choice. You want to directly take to devotional service or you want to gradually elevate, that is our choice. The direct process is not possible for everyone. Therefore, the indirect processes is also good. It is, however, to be understood that the indirect process is not recommended for Arjuna. Because Arjuna, by his spiritual elevation, is very advanced. The lower processes are recommended for those who are not up to the pure platform. So if you are not so pure, you start with Sakam Karma, then Nishkam Karma, then Karma Yoga, then you come to Jnana Yoga, or actually after Jnana Yoga comes Karma Yoga. Without knowledge, you cannot perform Karma Yoga. So Jnana is lower than even Karma Yoga. Because he is already at the stage of loving devotional service to the Lord, he has already developed love of Lord. So he does not recommend that you leave everything, offer the results of your work to me. He is not recommending that for Arjuna because he is cross, he is elevated already. Lord, it is for others who are not at this stage. For them, the gradual process of renunciation, knowledge, meditation, and realization of the super soul, the Brahman, should be followed. But as far as Bhagavad Gita is concerned, it is the direct method that is stressed. Everyone is advised to take the direct method and surrender unto Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So this is how we elevate, and at different stages. That is why Srila Vyasadeva, he compiled 18 Puranas. for different mentalities of people. 6 are in the mode of ignorance, for people in the mode of ignorance. 6 Puranas are compiled for people in the mode of passion, and 6 Puranas are compiled for people in the mode of goodness. And the devotional service of the Lord is especially for those in the mode of goodness, who are living in the mode of goodness. Other people will, first of all, they will not be able to understand it because their purification is not complete. But since Arjuna is already at that stage of understanding the devotional service, the Lord recommends that to him. 13 and 14. One who is not envious but is a kind friend to all living entities, who does not. So now the Lord is now going to explain the fruits of devotional service. What happens when you perform devotional service? One who is not envious but is kind friend to all living entities, who does not think of himself a proprietor and is free from false ego, who is equal in both happiness and distress, who is tolerant, always satisfied, self-controlled, and engaged in devotional service with determination, his mind and intelligence fixed on me. Such a devotee of mine is very dear to me. This is a declaration by the Lord. The last 8 texts of this chapter, 13 to 20, describe the internal symptoms of a person engaged in pure devotional service. What are the qualities? Actually, this section we can go for, I think 34 qualities are described here. You can 34 days we can do this chapter. So the last 8 texts of this chapter, 13 to 20, describe the internal symptoms of persons engaged in pure devotional service. The term advesha or non-envious is exemplified when a devotee thinks in terms of his enemy. He has no enemy. He hates no one. Because actually a devotee is a person who realizes where everybody's ultimate good lies and he tries to offer that. Please remember that the Sukruti, Bhakti Mukha Sukruti can only be given by devotees and the Lord. Nobody else can give. Your pious activities, your charity work, everything put together can get you, make you more comfortable here. But they cannot give you love of God, which is the ultimate purpose of human life. So the term advesha, non-envious, is exemplified when a devotee thinks in terms of his enemy. As Srila Baladev Vidya Bhushana says, this person hates me, and that is because of my own prarabdha karma, matured reaction of karma. As Krishna is the ultimate controller, his hatred must have Krishna's sanction. So a person, who is being hated also, he is not angry. He thinks that maybe, Krishna is happy by sending, actually Krishna is showing his hatred towards me through this person. He becomes more humble. Srila Prabhupada, uh, when he went to the West, sometimes, a person stole away his typewriter. Somebody hit him, pushed him. And but he did not react, because he completely understood that Krishna wants me to go through all this for his purpose. So a person in Bhakti Yoga, a self-realized person, will not consider anybody his enemy. They will see everything in relation to God. So all these qualities which are mentioned here, out of that, I think 20 will be discussed in the coming chapters. 15. He for whom no one is put into difficulty and who is not disturbed by anyone, who is equipoised in happiness and distress, fear and anxiety, is very dear to me. The Lord is saying this, that he is equipoised. He understands what this material world is, and he has only one desire, is to please the Lord. So no one is put into difficulty, anxiety, fearfulness, or dissatisfaction by such a devotee. The devotee will not wish bad for anybody. He is a friend to all. He has come here just to connect us to Krishna. That is his sole purpose. So we must not think otherwise. He is not disturbed and he doesn't disturb others. My devotee who is not dependent on the ordinary course of activities, who is pure, expert, without care, free from all pains, and not striving for some result, is very dear to me. So this is the result of detached devotional service. You become so dear to the Lord, and he is declaring it here. That person. So here Srila Prabhupada further explains, money may be offered to a devotee, but he should not struggle to acquire it. If automatically by the grace of Supreme money comes to him, he is not agitated. Naturally, a devotee takes bath at least twice in a day and rises early in the morning for devotional service. Thus, he is naturally clean both inwardly and outwardly. Inwardly, because he is now free of anarthas. Without being free from anarthas, nobody can engage in the service of Lord. He won't get service. If somebody is able to hear about the Lord, if somebody is attracted to the Lord's message, it means that he is sufficiently purified. So the devotee is clean internally and externally both. Cleanliness is one of the qualities. So we are discussing all the qualities. One, first we said he is non-envious, he does not have enemies, he is not agitated by success, failure, pain, pleasure. And now that he's clean inside and outside. Cleanliness is another quality. A devotee never takes the part of a particular party, therefore he is carefree. He is never pained because he is free from all designations. He knows that his body is a designation. So if there are some bodily pains, he is free. He knows that this body I am going through my prarabdha. So the Lord has arranged this for my purification. Even the pains. So let me go through it. So maybe physically they are affected, but not mentally and spiritually. Like I told you, there are so many such examples where devotees have been in such painful conditions. But if you look at them, they're smiling even then. Srila Prabhupada, when he departed, he was dictating Srimad Bhagavatam till his last breath. He was not even worried about his physical condition. And hordes of devotees used to gather around him. In fact, the last few months of Srila Prabhupada, he was very unwell. But he didn't stop. He went to England, I think 2 or 3 months before he departed. He went to England because he wanted to stay. And then he came back to Vrindavan. When he realized that, no, my last time has come, he told all his disciples to get him back to Vrindavan. where till his last breath he was translating Srimad Bhagavatam into English. That is why you will see that the edition Srimad Bhagavatam is a set of 18 books, which is available, 18 big books. And Srila Prabhupada could complete, I think, the middle of the chapter 10. There are 12 cantos in Srimad Bhagavatam. And he could only translate up to chapter 10, middle of that. After that, his disciples translated it. So his physical condition never affected him. And the Lord is saying, such a person is very dear to me. So, for example, constructing a big building requires great energy, and a devotee does not take to such a business if it does not benefit him by advancing in devotional service. He may construct a temple of the Lord. For that, he may take all kinds of anxiety, but he does not construct a big house for his personal relation. So the devotee will now understand what activities are going to bind me. They say, in all the four varnas and ashramas, the entire, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, the sphere of material activities, it is a big zero, actually, if Krishna is not there in that. So, our earning money, dharma, all our religiosity, arth is, dharma is all our religiosity, arth is money, calm is sense gratification, and moksha is for our spiritual elevation. All these are a big zero if Krishna is not there. But if we bring Krishna in them, dharma, artha, kama, moksha, then everything becomes 100. If there is no one in a number, just zeros, it has no value. But if you just put that one in front of all the zeros, the value is multiplied thousands of times. So this is a science, the art where you carefully plan that somehow the other I involve Krishna here. Then you will be, involved in akaram without any reaction. Otherwise, everything here has reactions. 17. One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, and who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things, such a devotee is very dear to me. In the material world, actually, nothing is auspicious. The fact that we are here itself is a big inauspiciousness. I told that to you yesterday. So they renounce. A pure devotee is neither happy nor distressed over material gain and loss, nor he is very much anxious to get a son or a disciple, nor is he distressed by not getting them. If he loses anything which is very dear to him, he does not lament. Similarly, if he does not get what he wants or desires, he is not distressed. Jivan mukta prasannatma na sochati na kankshati. This is a perfectional stage. In the 18th chapter, this sloka will come. That this is a state of mind one will acquire when a person who has realized God completely. He will not lament. If something is gone, it was God's, He took away. If I'm not getting something, then maybe God doesn't want to give it to me. So why lament? We are here for a temporary period of time and gatherings all kinds of experiences, sometimes which pollute our consciousness, and experiences sometimes which elevate our consciousness, and this depends on our association. So the only choice we have maybe is to choose our association, what to see, what not to see, what to hear, what not to hear, what to eat, what not to eat. And these choices, they mark the course of our journey. So one has to choose intelligently. The coming few chapters will help us in that. How with our knowledge, right knowledge, we can enhance or come to the level of devotional service. 18 and 19. One who is equal to friends and enemies, who is equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent. Always silent doesn't mean that a devotee doesn't speak. A devotee is not interested in any conversation or discussion apart from Lord. If he talks about the Lord, he talks about the purpose of Lord, or he talks about uh, being a part in his purpose, but otherwise he's not interested. He's not inclined naturally. Some people, they make a discipline initial that every Tuesday I should go to the temple. A devotee is not like that. His feet will automatically go only to the temple. His feet will not go anywhere else. The tendency will change. Always silent and satisfied with anything. Who doesn't care for any residence, who is fixed in knowledge and who is engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me. He is not even bothered about his physical, well-being. The Sanatana Goswami, he used to have tikdas. Tikdas are like thick atta, just baked, like put in the fire, In the end, there used to be like tandoor. They would put it in fire, last pieces of dough. And it would become like a thick bread. And he would put that in his bag and he would have only water and that. And Madan Mohan ji, actually what had happened was Sanatana Goswami was in Vrindavan. He's one of the 6 Goswamis. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had 6 disciples, 6 Goswamis, who further spread his message. Uh, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami, Raghunath Bhatt Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and how could I forget? One more name is there. 6 Goswamis are there. So once he visited a household and he saw Madan Mohan DT there. They had it in their family and they used to treat that DT like, they're like one person among them. The lady of the house, should not even take a bath. She was brushing her teeth and then she was boiling the milk. And with one hand, she would give to Madan Mohan. Are Madan, le, kha le. Tere liye bhi bana diya. And they were so, Sanatan Goswami felt very bad. He said, this is not how much you must treat, a DT. So carelessly you people do it. So, then later he realized, that the Lord loved the services of this family. One day when he had visited their home, so he takes away the DT with him. And the DT is not at all happy. Said, what this tikda you have and you feed me? See that lady, she used to give me nice boiled milk. Though brushing teeth, she used to give me all kinds of good things. And now I don't like to live with you. You should make a grand temple for me, the Lord says. And Sanatana Goswami was satisfied with just those tikdas. And he more inspires him. And one day what happens? A ship, of a merchant sinks in Yamuna, and it's not coming out, and that merchant is in doldrums. So Sanatan Goswami tells him, if your ship comes out with all the merchandise, will you make a temple for my Madan Mohan? That merchant, rich merchant, says, yes, I will make if my ship comes out. And the ship comes out, huge boat with all his goods, and he makes this temple for the Lord with that money. So a devotee of the Lord doesn't desire anything for himself. Himself is satisfied with the tikda, burnt bread also. But for Lord, he desires the best. That is the quality of a devotee. One who neither rejoices nor grieves, who neither laments nor desires, who renounces both auspicious and inauspicious things. Such a devotee is very dear to me. There is only one auspicious in the world. If Krishna is there, it is auspicious. If Krishna is not there in my life, it is inauspicious. That's all. That is his understanding. He renounces the result. What will happen? I will die. I'll become poor. What is inauspicious materially? For him, it doesn't matter. For him, it is inauspicious if he is not able to attach to Krishna. That's all. Equanimity. 1890. One who is equal to friends, enemies, who is equipoised in honor, dishonor, heat and cold, happiness, distress. This we have already discussed. So we come to the last section here. I think we have done 1819 also.
Yes, yes, Mataji. We are on 20.
20. Yes, we are in 20. Those who follow this imperishable path of devotional service and who completely engage themselves with faith, making me the supreme goal, are very, very dear to me. Obviously, when somebody is considering Krishna more important than anything in his life, any relationship in his life, he will be very dear to Krishna. So in this chapter, from verse 2 to the end, from Maya Dvesha Mani, all the shlokas here, the Supreme Lord has explained the process of transcendental service for approaching him. Such processes are very dear to the Lord, and he accepts a person engaged in them. The question of who is better, one who is engaged in the path of impersonal Brahman, or one who is engaged in the personal service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was raised by Arjuna, and the Lord replied to him so explicitly that there is no doubt that devotional service to the personality of Godhead is the best of all processes of spiritual realization. In other words, in this chapter, it is decided that through good association one develops attachment for pure devotional service and thereby accepts a bona fide spiritual master, and from him begins to hear and chant and observe the regulative principles of devotional service with faith, attachment, and devotion, and thus becomes engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. This path is recommended in this chapter. Therefore, there is no doubt that devotional service is the only absolute path for self realization, for attainment of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, there are actually 9 stages of devotional service. As you purify, you cross these stages. अधव श्रद्धा, साधु संग, भजन क्रिया, अनर्थ निवृत्ति, निष्ठा, रुचि, आसक्ति, bhav, and prem. 9 stages. So as a person, does all, crosses all these stages, the last stage is prem. Adhav Shraddha. It starts with Shraddha. You have some inclination to God, some faith. So because of that, you seek sadhu sang, association of devotees. Bhajan Kriya, practices of devotional service or sadhana, what you call. Initially, you may not like this, but under sadhu sang, when we perform all these activities, anartha nivritti, all the misgivings of the hearts vanish gradually. The six anarthas, they go, anartha nivritti. And this stage takes the longest time. It could take a few births also, anartha nivritti. You will finish some amount of cleansing in this birth, then it will be carried forward to the next birth till all the anarthas deplete. Then you will develop nishtha, determination. Now come what may, I am going to be on this path. You are totally convinced. Ruchi, you will develop taste. What do you mean taste? You will not like anything else. People sometimes wonder, how you listen to lectures for 8 hours, 9 hours? They don't understand. We like it. Our taste has developed in hearing. Ruchi, asakti is attachment, deep attachment. Attachment means that when that thing is not there, you get disturbed. So attachment to Krishna is when you don't have these activities in your life. Like one day you have not chanted, one day you have not seen the deity, one day you have not become disturbed. Let me go, let me go, let me go. Deep attachment. And when there is deep attachment, bhav, emotions, bhav stage will come. When you will start, experiencing joy, pain, pleasure in this relationship. Actually, they say bhav and prem, there is not much uh, difference, but actually there is lot of difference. At the bhava stage, you want to do everything for Krishna. And prema stage, you do everything that Krishna wants. There's a whole lot of difference. When we desire to do what we want with our will for Krishna, and doing something what Krishna wants are two different things. And prema is about pleasing your object of love. What he desires matters. Your desire has disappeared. That is prema. So His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj gives an example, that if you love a rose, you will water it. But if you like a rose, you will pluck it for your own good. So love is that stage where there is total selflessness. So here, fortunately, one develops directly a desire to engage in Krishna's consciousness in pure devotional service. Then he does not need to undergo step-by-step improvements in spiritual realization. Devotional service, as described in the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, is more congenial. One need not bother about materials to keep the body and soul together, because by the grace of the Lord, everything is carried out automatically. But one must desire to serve the Lord. The primary thing is, when you come in association of devotees, you develop this desire, and desire is the key to your destination. Whether it is hell or heaven or Vaikuntha, ye yathamam prabhadyanti. As you desire, so you will get. The destination will be arranged accordingly. So, but we must develop the desire. And these desires, spiritual desires, are developed in association of devotees. So thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purports to the 12th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of devotional service. So we have finished this glorious part of Bhagavad Gita, the middle section, devotional service. So before we start the questions and comments, let me request you all to please upload your testimonials. It will be a great chance to serve the Lord's purpose, because it will help us promote our preaching activities, your videos, and that way even you will be involved in the service of the Lord. So any questions or comments about today's class? So no questions?
No, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. Mataji, one thing lastly you have discussed, like if you love the rose, you will not pluck it. You will plant. And if you like the rose, then you will pluck it. So what my understanding is, I like the rose. I love the rose. So that's why I have planted, and I like the rose. That's why I have plugged it and give it to God. That is my service for God. So how it's, I think it's contemplative.
It is analogy, Mataji. The best purpose of the rose is what you are thinking. So now you are thinking like a devotee. Earlier, now you have started thinking ki how I can connect this rose to God. This is what happens with sadhu sang, association. Now you want to connect everything. No, it's an analogy to say that if you love a person, you will nurture him. You will not want to destroy him for your sense gratification. The whole purpose of the analogy was that. The best purpose is definitely pluck the rose and put it at the feet of Krishna. That is a devotee's mind. So I'm very happy you are able to connect the dots now. How
Thank
to
you.
connect everything in your life to Krishna. This is a science. Only then at the end of your life you will be able to remember him. That is our exam, the death, and we are preparing for that. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you.
Uh, any more realizations or questions?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Mataji, you said about the testimony. So we have to upload it. Because I don't have any link.
Your voice is breaking, Prabhuji.
Mataji, as you said to upload the testimony, I don't have any link to upload. Where I need to upload it?
The recording?
No, the testimony. You said something to upload, right? Testimony.
Testimony, yeah, you can record a video, and I have sent you an email ID, na Prabhuji, ISKCON kukatpalli520@gmail.com.
I'll check it now. Because I only messages from the ISKCON.
ISKCON kukatpalli520@gmail.com. It will help us a lot. Yeah, your testimonials will help us a lot. And your own personal experience about these sessions will help us have more people hear these sessions, which will be a great service to the Lord. So that is why these testimonials and your realizations are very important. And kindly do so for in service of Lord. So I think, yeah, please tell me, Prabhuji.
Mataji, is this recording are available?
Prabhuji?
This Zoom recording.
Yeah. They will always be there in YouTube now, Prabhuji. If you click on our channel, Mahashringadasa, our channel, you subscribe and you will get to hear always. They are there.
Yes, yes. I have
Yes,
missed
Master.
first class, so I've seen that. It's available.
So they will all, in fact, we have so many other speakers also. You can hear them also. In English, of course, my recordings and Prabhuji's recordings are also there. You can hear them whenever you want.
Just today I missed in the middle of the session. I missed some part of discussion. That's the
Okay.
reason I.
No, the recordings will be there, Prabhuji. That is why we have made this arrangement. Because our purpose is that everybody should get the message of Bhagavad Gita at their convenience whenever they want. Of course, a Zoom meeting is always better because you can interact. It is two-way. But I see that many people are hearing the recordings because they are not able to make it to the live sessions. And they are in touch with me, they are messaging to me, and they're liking it. So that is what matters. So, any more questions or realizations for today's class?
No, Master.
So thank you all so much. We will end today's session here. Tomorrow we will start with the third section of Bhagavad Gita, the final section. So till then, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuba evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. हरे कृष्णा.
Hare Krishna, Master.
हरे कृष्ण. हरे कृष्ण.